Good all the reviewers. How are you? I hope you all had a good as in the of all of due to problems. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the moderator of this session. I will guide the Okay. Uh, Dr. Sates,
Good evening, Prof.
are you with us?
Yes, Prof. I'm ready. You can proceed now.
You have my voice clearly?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. We want to start. The first is Anthony Opol from Nigeria. Mr. Anthony, are you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Bo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can start your presentation. You have 10 minutes from now.
It's all right. Thank you very much, Bo. Uh, can I share my screen? The screen sharing is disabled. Can I have it enabled so that I can share my screen?
Yeah. You have already shared screen. You can share screen now, please, Mr. Anthony.
Okay.
Not screen sharing. Yes. Please, time is yours, Mr. Anthony.
Good evening, everyone. I am Mr. Antonio Bolu from Nigeria, Mahasiswa de Uenye, and I'm attending the conference today. I appreciate the opportunity to be here to share in the knowledge and also contribute my findings of my research to the conference. Thank you very much. My paper is titled Bridging the Digital Divide, an analysis of the socioeconomic impacts of the extended
I'm
internet
sorry, Mr.
access.
Anthony. I'm sorry. The screen sharing is not start. Can you repeat it?
You can see my screen?
No.
Wow.
Yes, I can. I can see the slide.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay, okay.
Is it visible now?
Yes, Mr. Anthony. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for the confirmation. Sorry about that. So I'm presenting a paper titled Bridging the Digital Divide, an analysis of the socioeconomic impact of the extended internet facility of the to university students. Permit me to start that before the coronavirus, we all know that the internet access of students prior to the online learning was quite difficult because findings show that more than 50% of households lack internet access in their homes prior to the coronavirus. So with the coronavirus happening and the implemented lockdown measures, it saw a lot of homes even go further into the lack of internet access, hence making the digital divide wider, all thanks to the coronavirus. The 1% of the so-called population becomes richer. However, the other 99% are not. And having access to the internet is a big problem for them, even in the pandemic. The pandemic saw a lot of shutdowns from various governments all over the world, except two countries, which are Sweden and Belarus, that did not shut down 100%. It saw educational institutions shut down. It saw public events and gathering canceled. It saw business ethics canceled. Religious houses had to close. Recreational centers had to close. Literally, all to curb the spread of the virus. We had the slogan of work from home, learn from home, worship from home, which became on virtually everybody's lips. Now, the issue became that should we prioritize the economy over the health, or should we prioritize the health over the economy, which is still an ongoing debate, because without the functioning economy, you have a lot of health issues. People have a lot of medical, psychological problems because of lack of finance or lack of productivity in their companies. So the ongoing debate stands that should the economy be prioritized over curbing the so-called virus and putting everybody under lockdown. As an economist, I would say this measure so far to lock down the economies has going, it has, not even has going. He saw a lot of, it brought a lot of drastic and unproductive measures, such as you have the negative interest rate and zero interest rate. You have quantitative easing, whereby more money are printed, leading to inflations and leading to poverty, increase in poverty, which ends up making people psychologically deprived of, should I say, their essence of living, because a lot of livelihoods was lost during this pandemic. So prior to the pandemic, a lot of students had the opportunity to be in their classes, have opportunity to interact with their fellow students, have opportunity to share, social bonding and all that. But with the coronavirus, everybody is virtually indoors and working on their systems, attending lectures online, increasing the demand for access to internet. Research in the US by Pearson Research Center found that 53% of Americans actually confirmed that the internet is a vital resource for them this particular period. Another research from Educase found similar findings, whereby they said that the pandemic has greatly distorted higher education activities and made institutions rely heavily on internet access. Case in point will be this our ongoing conference, whereby most of us had to join online. So 36% of institutions surveyed also said that their students having moderate to extreme difficulty in getting internet bandwidth they needed to continue their academic lectures. 36% of all the institutions surveyed by Educase said their students complained bitterly about lack of internet access to continue their academic activities online. So in that regards, our university, Yogyakarta State University, in collaboration with other institutions in the telecommunication sector and the government likewise, brought up the initiative to actually offer free internet access to students, our students at home, so that it can help mitigate the effects of not having financials to buy data to study at home. The findings, the main aim of my paper was to analyze, okay, my institution has taken up the initiative to deliver free internet access to make students have opportunity to study in order to bridge the educational gap during the pandemic period. However, no research was done to actually analyze the impact of this, because it's first to see such institutions carry out such initiative in pandemics like this. So I brought up the desire was born in me to actually analyze how this initiative by my institution has helped students to cope during this lockdown, specifically the economic and socioeconomic impacts this initiative had on the life of the student. My findings revealed that during the lockdown period, the initiative was very successful. The initiative of extending internet access to all students to their phones so they can use it to browse was very successful, and it had a positive impact on the socioeconomic life of all students. 76% of the students surveyed by my research found out that they signed up and they were satisfied. 50% said it was helpful in completing their academics. 65% said it was also helpful in completing non-academic tasks, which could involve keeping up with friends, doing their businesses, and all other non-academic tasks. While another 65% attested to the fact that they actually shared the home internet access with their family and friends, leading to social bonding and also transmitting the assistance from students to family and friends. However, the pandemic, I also asked around and found that astonishingly, 84% of students had at least one of their family members' livelihood affected by the pandemic, meaning a lot of socioeconomic issues were actually ongoing on during this pandemic period. A lot of families lost their source of incomes and households were actually in.
Minute left.
Hello?
So, yes, please.
So 64% actually said that their personal source of livelihood was also affected negatively. I'm about rounding up. So that is my research findings. And just to add to some limitations to my findings are that one, because it's always best to talk about your limitations in every research. So one of my limitations include that the sample size I used was quite small because it was difficult to get people to answer questionnaires online. But however, the findings, the sample size was a true description of the population because I virtually got almost everybody from every faculty of the institution. So in conclusion, the free internet package from the Yogyakarta State University is not only making our students study smoothly during this coronavirus lockdown, it's also by extension making the world a better place by ensuring inclusive and quality education learning opportunities for all, irrespective of their economic and social background. Thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you for the good presentation, Mr. Anthony Ogbol. Now our question and answer session. If any participant will want to ask Mr. Ogbol, give the time for 5 minutes. Or the reviewer.
Uh, Thank you, Mr. Anthony, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. So in conclusion, what I understand is means the internet providers, right? If we have the sufficient data or internet facilities, so means the students can get quality education irrespective of COVID-19 or any other disease or any other pandemics, right?
Exactly.
So
Because
means, yeah. So as per my understanding means this online platform, rather than the face-to-face learning, this online platform, whether it provide good or quality education as compared with the face-to-face mode.
actually, my research is not looking at the comparison between online education and physical traditional education. The research was focused on looking at the impact of internet access on the socioeconomic impact of the life of students. Because prior to the lockdown, a lot of students were forced to transition from the traditional learning to online learning. I didn't look at the comparison between traditional and online. I only looked at, okay, a lot of students are going to online learning. However, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of students, their source of livelihoods were affected. Even that of their family members were also affected. The issue is how do they have the providence, financial providence to acquire data to study during the online period, being that everybody was forced to move over to the online learning. So in the benevolence and the local wisdom of Yogyakarta State University, they decided to initiate a program whereby they provided free internet access to all students. So my research focused on Yogyakarta's initiative. How impactful was it on the life of the students? So that's what I focused on. And the findings revealed that the initiative was successful and very helpful towards the upliftment, towards the increase in the social and economic standard of the student, irrespective of the challenges they faced during the lockdown period to their learning opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you for your clear explanation.
It's all right, sir.
All the best.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Satish Prabhu, for the question. Another question, participant or Mrs. Ira? Do you have any question?
Okay, congratulations for Anthony. My question is, what is the strategy, the simple strategy to handle this problem during a COVID-19?
Come again. I didn't hear you clearly. If I may, just to clarify, You asked me what is the simplest strategy to overcome the challenges of COVID-19 period, COVID-19
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah. 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 What is the simple strategy or solution to
Okay.
handle um, the problem due to COVID-19?
As regards to the should I speak from the health angle or speak from the educational angle, or you just want to have a general suggestion or recommendation for the simplest solutions? If I will say, though I'm not a health expert, I'm an economist, I will advise we should prioritize this. The simplest strategy would be for us to prioritize the economy over the health issue currently at hand. Because statistically, if you look at the mortality rate for the COVID-19, it is quite below 10%. And us shutting down the economy because of the pandemic, which is not ravaging. No offense to those that have lost their life. I know, understand that people have died during this pandemic, but if if you carry on like this, more people will suffer from the economic handicap that will be impacted on their lives because of the continuous lockdown. So the simplest strategy is let us put the necessary health measures in place. However, we also should ensure that the economy is allowed to run smoothly, at least 70%. Because statistics showed us that the loss of finance also contribute to psychological problem and even lead to depression and death. So if this situation is carried on, you're going to have more people dying from depression and worry about how to feed their family and how to continue their academics, how will they get jobs after that. You're going to get more people going into a depressive state, and they may end up, we don't want that. Probably you see high rate of suicidal, you see various form of diseases increasing, leading to more death apart from that of the coronavirus. So we should let the economy run. It may not be 100%, but at least it should be more than the current level at which it has been placed. We should look at countries like Sweden and Belarus and copy the necessary health measures they put in place and implement that in our economies, and also ensure that we keep up with the necessary preventive measures of hand washing, mask wearing, and maintaining a proper hygiene system in order to prevent viruses from coming close to our environment and giving us e-health and all that. So that would be my simplest recommendation. We should also look at the economy alongside looking at the health issue of the virus. Thank you very much. Is there any more question?
Okay, the time is up. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Anthony Okbolu.
Thank you very much, Boo.
Yes, give an applause to Mr. Anthony Okbolu.
Thank you.
Hello.
Next, we continue to the second presentant. We have Mrs. Josephine M. The Lion from Philippines. The title is Assessment of Online Learning Climate During the COVID-19 Pandemic. Mrs. Josephine, are you with us? Mrs. Josephine?
Hello, good evening.
How are you, Mrs.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Josephine.
Okay, so can I start now?
Yes, you have 10 minutes from now to deliver your presentation.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Dr. Josephine De Leon. I will be presenting to you our faculty research. The title is Assessment of Online Learning Climate During the COVID-19 Pandemic. Together with me is Dr. Urgel, our Dean of the School of Nursing, Central Escolar University, Mrs. Mahilia, Mrs. Cristobal, Mrs. Trinidad, and Mr. Gomez. So the COVID-19 pandemic has brought not only problems about health, but also changes in our educational system. While countries are at different points in their COVID-19 infection rates worldwide, there are currently more than 1.38 billion children in 186 countries affected by school closures due to the pandemic, according to UNESCO. In the Philippines, there is a countrywide closure of school with almost 28,451,212 affected learners, according to UNESCO report in 2020. All schools are caught and prepared in the implementation of online learning. While some of the schools are already using blended learning, there are still gaps identified in the process. School administrators are now faced in dilemma of the implementation of online learning. Educational institutions need to prepare to train their teachers and as well as to prepare their students. There are also many challenges of online learning. Some students without reliable internet access and or technology. It was discussed a while ago by Mr. Anthony, and they struggle to participate in digital learning. This gap is seen across countries and between income brackets within countries. There is a significant gap between those from privileged and disadvantaged backgrounds, and most of the disadvantaged students do not own a laptop, according to Lee et al. In 2020. The process of assessment will provide feedbacks from students' perception about online learning climate during the COVID-19 pandemic. The results of the study will provide feedbacks from students about online learning climate during the COVID-19 pandemic. This can further provide basis for enhancement and improvement of future needs of online learning. Offering more flexible higher education in terms of, sorry, in terms of offering more flexible higher education in terms of delivery and pacing will be unavoidable if the COVID-19 crisis is going to be around for a while, and defining flexible quality standards for it will be indispensable as well, according to Martin and Furip in 2020. OCAP in 2020 identified differences with online learning compared to normal classroom. First, the learner populations are more diverse. Second, users' familiarities with the use of computers vary significantly. And third, the traditional interaction of instructor, learner, and content is more complicated with the introduction of technology, software, communication, complicated the teaching environment. Students appreciated online learning for its potential in providing a clear and coherent structure of the learning material in supporting self-regulated learning and in distributing information, according to the study of Pachter and Mayer in 2010. When conceptual knowledge in the subject matter or skills in the application of one's knowledge are to be acquired, students prefer face-to-face learning. However, when skills in self-regulated learning are to be acquired, students advocate online learning. This study is an online survey to determine the perceptions of nursing students on the online learning climate during the COVID-19 pandemic. The study described the online learning climate according to instructors' behavior, student characteristics and behaviors, and course-specific structural issues. The online learning climate scale was utilized as research instrument of the study. The online learning climate scale examines how student perceptions of climate predict instructional beliefs or academic self-efficacy and learning outcomes. The scale consists of several variables related to instructor roles and behaviors, student characteristics, and course-specific structural issues to explain how students perceive climate within a computer-mediated classroom. The instrument responses are in a 4-point Likert scale that ranges from strongly agree to strongly disagree, and the questionnaire was developed using Google Form. The reliability and factor structure of the developed online learning climate scale was performed by Kaufman in 2014. Results revealed that the final exploratory principal components factor analysis produced a 14-item and dimensional scale that accounts for approximately 59% of the variance. Nursing students taking the nursing they're taking the online course during the COVID-19 pandemic are selected in the study because they are considered the stakeholders of the institution. Stakeholders' feedbacks are needed to improve the curriculum, especially the online learning method during the COVID-19 pandemic. The study was approved by the CEU Institutional Review Board. Consent forms were given to students through Google Form. The researcher explained that participation will not affect their grades. Students were asked to consent to participate. The link of the online survey was posted by their teachers in their CE Lips, and students were asked to accomplish the survey. For data analysis, we utilize frequency and percentage to describe the online learning climate and by the use of the SPSS. Now, for the results, Table 1 presents the online profile of our students. Most of our students use prepaid cell phones, and they use cell phones as their gadget for online learning. For the online climate instructors' roles and behaviors, majority of the students perceive that their instructors are supportive, around 63.9%, and majority also perceive that their instructor is a responsible person, with 65.6% of the population. For the online climate of student characteristics, majority of the students perceive that the other students are supportive for one another and socializing with one another and are cooperative with one another, with 60.7% of the population. For online climate structure or course structure, the student perceives that the organization of the course is engaging and the technology of this course fosters collaboration with other students. They also agreed that they have read the assigned readings assigned to them, and they believe online courses are more time consuming than the traditional courses. We also gather comments from our students or feedbacks for the following. For online class, they perceive or they commented that online classes are stressful, harder than traditional class, not for nursing, hard, not effective, exhausting, and doesn't give ability to learn, and it is really very challenging for them. For the course, they suggest that activities should be lessened. The teacher should have discussion first before activities, before laying down all the requirements for the course, and the CEU lips must become a lot more clear on navigation,
Two
and
minutes left.
so PowerPoint and videos and modules are somewhat effective. For the teachers, the students commented that clinical instructors are very responsive and hands-on in catering the students' needs. They highly commend the professors assigned in their group or section. The teachers are responsive and patient, kind, approachable, and considerate teacher. Okay, the study conducted in Indonesia and the evaluation of students on online learning by Roman et al. It revealed that students had negative perceptions to online learning. They agreed that online learning was the right solution during COVID-19 pandemic, that online learning was implemented with proper planning resulted in the absence of business involvement and effectiveness of online learning. And careful planning of university management, designer, and lecturers are needed to create beneficial and useful online learning for students. The same study was done by Lumasag et al., and it showed that online learning system is effective in downloading instructional materials and assignments. In the Philippines, the Commission on Higher Education also suggested to strengthen online platforms and blended learning. And in addition, it will adopt numerous learning delivery options. In conclusion, Online learning as perceived by students are engaging, foster collaboration. However, it is time-consuming and challenging. They perceive that the instructors are supported by responsible persons, and students are within the online learning platform are socializing each other and cooperative and supportive. So for recommendation, they recommend to improve online activities designed for students, to set teaching and learning activities that are possible online, continuous preparation and training for teachers, as well as continuous evaluation assessment of the online learning climate of the students. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Josephine, for the good presentation. Now is question and answer session for 5 minutes. Is
Hello,
there
Dr.
any
Josephine.
participant or reviewer,
Yes, hello.
Dr. Babu?
Thank you
Good
for
evening.
your nice presentation, Doctor. Can you hear me, Dr. Josephine?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, Doctor. From your presentation, I concluded that means most of the students are more stressful. They are not get the lecture from the lecturers or the professors, right? So what's the rate of understanding the students from the lecture through the online mode?
Sorry, I didn't get it. What is your
Uh, means, so you have listed the difficulties of the students, means
yes,
students are not getting the lecture, or the students feel more stress, they cannot interact with the teachers, or they cannot interact with their fellow students. So yes, teaching is good, but as a teacher, as a parent, so what is the strategy we need to adopt or we need to implement to overcome these issues from this online mode of teaching?
okay. Thank you for your question. Actually, the CE Lips, or the online learning platform that we have in the Philippines or in our institution, is made, or it is custom for adult learning. Okay, so we utilize the synchronous and asynchronous learning method. So for the synchronous, we only do virtual classes once in every week. So for example, we have 5 weeks in one block, and the students have three courses or three subjects in one block. So they will only have one virtual class that is synchronous rather, for 1 week, once in a week. Now the rest of the week, that is Tuesday to Friday, they have it as asynchronous. So what is the reason for that? We do that because we want to be our online learning to be as much as possible flexible for the students, because we know we acknowledge the difficulty of students, and one is like what we have this what Mr. Anthony have discussed, the internet connection. They have difficulty in the internet connection. They also have difficulty with the learning materials. So with the asynchronous portion, um, they are free to do all the activities within that week, and usually we upload all the materials in the online learning platform, that is the Canvas. Now with with the with the feedback that we have, because I came from the School of Nursing, and we know that in the School of Nursing there are practical applications, right? So since the beginning of the online learning climate, or in the online learning process that we have during COVID-19, the students in the School of Nursing, they really have the difficulty adjusting to the online learning platform. The reason is that because most of our materials of our lesson should also be applicable, or should be applied to the actual situation, or in particular in the hospital and in the community setting. So that's the reason why they have a lot of feedback and they have a lot of adjustments. And we conducted this study during the summer, this summer, last summer. We conducted it last summer of our curriculum. So I think this is somewhat in June or in May. Yeah, in June. So actually, this is the first time that we conducted the online learning platform. So you can see most of their feedbacks. But we will continue with the evaluation as we go on with the online learning platform. So this is actually a partial results that I have presented because after our first semester, come December, we will be finishing our first semester by December. We will be conducting again a follow-up evaluation this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, the time is up for Mrs. Josephine. It's enough for 15 minutes. Now we continue for the third presentant, Mrs. Angelina Puspitasari. Please come forward to present your presentation. The title of the presentation is Effectiveness of Iron Tablet Consumption in Pregnant Women to Ferritin Levels in Ilir Timur 1, Palembang. Mrs. Angelina, you have 10 minutes to deliver your presentation. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening. My name is Angelina Puspitasari and my partner Romla. We from midwifery program Faculty of Science Universitas Katolik Musikaritas. In I would like to present my presentation. The title of the effectiveness of iron tablet consumption in pregnant women to ferritin level in Ilir Timur 1, Palembang. Iron deficiency is a major contributor to anemia by 50% when compared to anemia caused by other factors. In 2013, maternal and neonatal deaths in developed countries reached around 3 million, with an estimate 90,000 deaths caused by iron deficiency anemia. Anemia in pregnant women in Indonesia ranked 4, with Thailand at 30%, in the Southeast Asia. Next slide. Data from the basic health research or ICoHSST show the prevalence of anemia in Indonesia remain 37.1%. This shows that anemia in Indonesia is still a public health problem. In pregnancy, the administration of iron tablet is set for its safety standard. As recommended, pregnant women should consume 1 tablet daily or 90 tablets during pregnancy. Ferritin is currently considered an important indicator in determining iron status. This observational analytic study used a pre-test and post-test control group design. The sample in this study was a total sampling of 16 respondents. The inclusion criteria are pregnant woman in the second trimester, 13 until 27 weeks gestational age, and take iron tablet for 30 days. A single pregnant woman obtained from the result of physical examination, primigravida or multigravida. Exclusion criteria, pregnancy with complication. Pregnant woman forgot to take 1 or more iron tablets during the study, could not be contacted during the study, and pregnant women were sick during the study. Univariate analysis result, the majority have the majority had sorry the majority had graduate graduate from senior high school. 8 people, 50% were multigravida, 10 people, and were age 20 to 35 years, 15 people. Table 2, effectiveness of iron tablet consumption in pregnant women to ferritin level. After the respondent, after consuming 30 iron tablet, was higher than pregnant woman who did not take iron tablet. This is our documentation. Collect data from the respondent. My reference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Angelina. Now we have our question and answer session for Mr. Satis Babu. You have any question to Angelina?
Yes, madam. Miss Angelina, thank you for your presentation. Can you hear me, Miss Angelina?
Yes, Mr.
So my question is it possible to treat pregnancy-related anemia by diet without any medication? Is it any chance or any diet can able to treat the anemia?
Please repeat again, Mr.
Is there any possibility to treat pregnancy-related anemia by modifying the diet or food intake? What my question? Yes.
Mister, we will send to the patient another uh, high hospital.
All the best.
Thank you, Mister.
Thank you.
Question?
No.
Now we move to the fourth contestant, participant. The fourth presentant is Mrs. Niketut Sujati. Uh, Bu Niketut, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay. Mrs. Niketut will present her presentation with the title The Effect of Thunder Learning Model on the Capability of Nurse Practices in One Nursing Care at RSUD Dr. Haji Ibnu Sutowo Baturaja Oku. Mr. Niketut, you have 10 minutes to deliver your presentation. Time is yours.
Oke, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Uh, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me. I'll presentation my report of my research that this title is the influence of the Tandur learning model on the ability of nurses to practice in wound nursing care at Ibnu Stowo Regional Hospital. What is Tandur? Tandur is the sequence or syntax of learning model in how to make it fun, how to make it fun in study. At the first time, uh, many study report that Tandur is uh, proposed in young learning model. But at last time, in this study, we find that Tandur is effective uh, in-house training for the nurses. Continuing education in nursing is needed by nurse to improve their ability in nursing. Education will success when using appropriate and fun model, which ensure participant practice learning by presenting high interest, fun and high interest. Issues that develop in nursing service related to the need for improvement in nurse competence are modern wound care, known as the practice of moist balance. Next, okay. Uh, this research objects analyze the effectiveness of Tandu learning model on the ability or on capability nurses practice in wound care nursing with the principle of moist balance at Ibnu Sutowo Regional Hospital. Next. This study's method is quasi-experiment. We take uh, 21 participants in case group and 21 participants at a control group. We compare the capabilities of two groups before and after practice. And yeah, the data analysis of study use the independent and dependency test obtained in compare the average of a score in between two groups. Next, I'd like to display the table result of this study. The average value of the pre and post test of the wound care capability at, at treatment group nurses who received Tandur model learning at Ibnu Sutowo Hospital. At treatment group, pre-test report average is 66.27 and post-test 82.14. Uh, at the control group, pre-test is 62.22 and post-test is 67.46. In the treatment group, the pretest average score was similarly same, but at post-test, the treatment group get point post-test higher than the control group. Next, the difference in the mean ability of the wound care practice of the nurses group who did not receive the Tandur model and the nurse group who took the Tandur model learning is like the table below. The average of the nurse that not get Tandur learning is 67.46 and the average of point the nurse who get Tandur learning is 82.14. Uh, the p-value is 0.0337. From the table presentation above, the average value of the ability to practice wound care for the group of nurses who did not get the Tandur model learning is 67.46. It is uh, below than the nurse group that took the Tandur model learning uh, that get 82.14 with standard deviation 5.114. P-value is 1.137. That means in 5 alpha there is an effect of learning model Tandur on the capability of to practice of the nurse in rumah sakit in Ibnu Sutowo Hospital. I'd like to discuss in this study the tandem learning model used in training nurses in wound nursing care has
2 minutes
improved
left.
the
2 minutes.
practice skill of nurse. Pardon me.
2 minutes left, Mrs. Nikatut.
Okay. I let me conclude it. If we want to improve the capability of nurse, we suggest that to choose the method of learning of Thunder model. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Nikatut. Thank you for your great presentation. Now, now we move to question and answer from audience. Do you have any question? Yes, please. Say your name and where are you come from. Yes, Ms. Nikatut.
Would you pardon?
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. My name is Julianus from Siloam Hospital. I have some question for you, Miss Ketut. First, are there any type of wound that you use for this research? And what is the key point of this Tandur model learning which nurse should know so that the behavior of nurse could change into the better wound practice? And how long the Tandur learning model you give to the nurse? How long you give the Tandur model learning to nurse so that the behavior could change? Thank you. Did you get it?
Okay. Excuse me. If I not miss to understand the question, um, Thunder learning model is the model that can be used in all uh, training. For example, um, in-house training for the nurses, because it uh, ensure that the nurse can study by humanist, fun, and happy. They know what is the goal of the study, and they can choose what is the method they can use to achieve their goal. How long it can be used? I think it can be used for a long time to improve nurse capability.
Okay, I mean, how long you give the Tandu model learning? Maybe you give the Tandu model learning to control to intervention group for 12 days, maybe, or how many days you give the Tandu model learning. So the behavior of the nurse changes.
Okay. In this study, we trace, we experiment to the nurses at Ibnu Stawa Hospital for about 1 month. We
Oh, so
observe,
man, you give it.
okay,
So you test first and you give the Tandu model learning for 1 month and you did the post test again, correct?
yes, for the control group, we also give the training, but with conventional model. For the case for the experiment group, we keep a Tandur model to improve their capability.
Okay, so the control group you give the conventional model training and the intervention group, you give the Tango model training without the conventional training. Okay.
Yes, right.
And is there any type of model learning you give? Is that online or face to face or anything? The model you give,
Online.
model learning, is that practical or just discussion or online?
No, model learning, Tandur model learning may be in this study is uh, practice online, offline. With we study we training together with the nurses.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer.
Have 1 minute left. Is there any question from Mr. Satish Babu? Do you have any question?
No, madam. All right, everything all right.
Okay, time is up for Mrs. Nekotut. Thank you for your presentation. Now we move to the fifth person, Mrs. Aprila. The title of presentation is Effectiveness of Using Peanut Ball on the Progress of First Stage of Childbirth in BPM Palembang City. Mrs. Aprila have 10 minutes to deliver your presentation. Time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for time for me to presentation our research. The title of our research is Effectiveness of Using Peanut Ball on the Progress of First Stage of Childbirth in BPM Palembang City. Introduction. The World Health Organization estimate that 585,000 women die every day from complications of pregnancy, birth process, and unsafe abortion. And it was estimated that about 1 woman die every minute. Okay. One of the relaxation technique and sorry, I use my glasses, nggak kelihatan. Nah, kelihatan. One of the relaxation technique and pharmacological measure in handling pain during childbirth is using a bird ball, which is also commonly known is in Pilates as split ball, Swiss ball, and Patsy ball. Bird ball is a physical ball, a therapy that helps take one inpartum mother into position that help labor progress. A physical ball, a therapy that help progress of labor and can be used in a variety of positions. One of the movement is by sitting on the ball and shaking to make a sense of comfort and help the progress of labor using gravity while increasing the release of endorphin because elasticity and the curvature of the ball stimulate the pelvic receptor, which are responsible for secreting endorphin. The peanut ball, a remarkable labor support that many different positions can be used with a peanut ball, such as side lying. This position which help open the birth canal and also provide comfort to the mother in bed. Many studies have proven that the birthing ball is effective in smoothing labor. Usually the ball used in this case is a gym ball, while the peanut ball is still very rarely used. Therefore, research are interested in examining the effectiveness of using the peanut ball and gym ball in improving labor progress. Next.
This is our preparation of tool and material, observation paper, partograph paper, peanut ball, and gimbal. Subject preparation. First, the subject is given explanation to proceed the research. Subjects are also entitled to resign during the process. The research look place according to the informed consent. Subject feel confident and understand about the research procedure, then new research can be done. Teamwork preparation. This research was conducted independently to assess the process research. Then the research appointed several people to supervise the work process of using gimbal and peanut ball. And this is our procedure research. Taking care of research permit from the Polytechnic Kesehatan Palembang to location for looking for respondent during the first step of labor. Draw and divide the sample into two groups. The sample was given a brief explanation of this research. For those who were willing to take part in the study were asked to sign a letter of consent. Fill in the respondent data and measure the progress of the first stage of labor into group. Use of a gimbal or peanut ball in the treatment group for 30 minutes. Before the study began, the subject is asked to breathe in slowly. The subject was examined by the research. Subject is given a gimbal or peanut ball for 30 minutes. Assess the progress of labor again to treatment group that had been given gimbal or peanut ball and taking note. And this research subject security measure. This security measure is carried out when the subject asked to stop for various reasons. If there are signs that the subject is restless and began to become unstable, if there are signs of danger of childbirth. And this research implementation at 28 October until 29 November, we conducted the research and the data processing using SPSS and manual is in process. At 38 respondents have made the sample. And this is a conceptual framework and hypothesis. Next. And this is operational definition about progress at first stage of labor and peanut ball and gimbal. This is our result of our research. At table 5.1, mostly characteristic respondent at 21 until 30 years old is 53.3%. And the character and based on the result of the test of normality in table 5.3, above the respondent characteristic data is a score of less than 0.05, which means that the data is normally distributed. So statistical test use is the t-test. Next. And this is a bivariate analysis. This analysis is to see the difference between the use of the peanut ball and gimbal on the process of labor at stage 1. Next. From table 5.4, the result of the analysis show that the average length of delivery in the treatment group is 3.00, whereas in the control group, the average progress is labor was 4.60. The value is 0.003, which means that there are significant difference in the control group and the treatment group. The result of this study indicated if the value is 0.003, that based on the independent test, value less than 0.05, which means that there is a difference in effectiveness between the use of the peanut ball and gym ball on progress of labor in multigravida maternal. This based on the result of research team in the field that the treatment group saw that
3
this was
minutes
more,
left.
yes, thank you, more effective than the control group is increase the progress of labor in multigravida mothers during the first stage of BPM Palembang with a mean difference 1 hour faster than the control group. Thank you for attention, and this documentation for gym ball and next for peanut ball. Thank you for attention, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mrs. Aprila. Now, if there's anybody have a question to Mrs. Aprila, Mr. Satis Babu, do you have any question?
I have some few questions. Dear Miss, so here just I want to know about the respondent. So while collecting the consent from the respondent or the volunteers, how they responded to your research, how they are cooperative with your research, whether easily you will get the consent from them, or in order to get 30 number of respondents, how many respondents you have approached?
Thank you for the question. I'm trying to translate in bahasa.
Okay.
Jadi pertanyaannya adalah bagaimana cara mendapatkan respondennya, pendekatannya seperti apa, terus di mana saja dapat responden itu. Gitu.
Thank you for question, but I'm sorry I'm not good for English. I will answer with bahasa Indonesia. Boleh? Please translate. Di Politeknik Kesehatan Palembang itu mempunyai beberapa tempat bidan praktek dan puskesmas yang mempunyai fasilitas yang sebelumnya sudah kami kerjasama, ada MOU. Di sana memang seperti Puskesmas Pembina Palembang dan BPM Lismarini, di sana sudah menggunakan gimbal dan peanut ball. Jadi memang kami sudah ada MOU dan melakukan pengabdian masyarakat. Jadi sudah tersosialisasi. Jadi memang di tempat-tempat itu sudah menggunakan alat-alat itu, ada yang menggunakan gimbal dan peanut ball. Jadi memang tidak ada kendala sama sekali ketika kami melakukan penelitian ini. Jadi kami bagi 2 kelompok saja waktu itu, karena pada dasarnya sebetulnya tidak, gimbal dan peanut ball itu beda bentuk dan beda posisi-posisi yang bisa digunakan oleh ibu ketika melahirkan pada kala 1. Jadi tidak ada masalah. Memang pasien-pasien di sana itu sudah ada yang menggunakan gimbal dan peanut ball. Tinggal kami ingin tahu efektivitas dari gimbal dan peanut ball itu mana yang lebih efektif, karena perbedaan bentuk dan
apa ya, posisi-posisi yang bisa digunakan antara jimbol dan peanut ball itu berbeda. Itu. Terima kasih.
I try to translate to you, Mr. Satis Babu. The answer from Mrs. Aprila. Poltekkes Palembang has several health agencies that work together with Poltekkes Palembang that were they did their research there. They researched the gimbal and peanut ball to know the difference and the use of gimbal and peanut ball to pregnant women. Right, Mrs. Aprila?
Let me edit the explanation. The researcher obtained the respondent from private clinic with very private clinic. Implemented sorry for the technical. Okay, so the respondent have already implemented the method. They implement the gimbal and the peanut. So gimbal and peanut ball is not the new thing for them. And then the researcher just want to evaluate the effectiveness, the implementation, and want to know what is the difference about the two methods between gimbal and peanut ball. Is that clear, sir?
Yes, madam. Fine.
Yeah.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Ms. Aprila, for your nice presentation. All the best.
Okay, time is up. We move to first. Thank you, Mrs. Aprila, for the great presentation. Now we have the last presentant for this session, Mrs. Natasha Wesdania Sihite, with the title Antimicrobial Activity of Jasmine Flower Extract Against Escherichia coli and Staphylococcus aureus. Mrs. Natasha, you have 10 minutes to deliver your presentation. Time is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I introduce myself. My name is Natasha Wisdania Sihite. The topic of my research is antimicrobial activity, but the title of my research is antimicrobial activity of jasmine flower extract against Escherichia coli and Staphylococcus aureus. This is my online presentation. This is a background, and then the state is objective, and the third is method, and the last result and discussion. You can see about my slide. This is a consume about synthetic preservative and the natural preservative. This is a different about the synthetic of the preservative and the natural preservative, like a Jasminum sambas extract or the jasmine extract. If you consume too much, so have a side effect or not insecure about your body, like a food preservative, synthetic, and then if you consume the natural extract or the natural food preservative, is the secure because they are naturally. My objective of the research study is the study aimed to determine the antimicrobial activity of the jasmine extract. And then the objective to know what the bioactive compound is a jasmine extract. This is my extract about the jasmine extract. This is a flower or a bud of flower. In speak bahasa is kuntum or kuncup, kuncup bunga. This is antimicrobial activity about the bacteria pathogen like Escherichia coli and the Staphylococcus aureus. And then let me see what the bioactive compound in the extract or the jasmine extract in my research. Okay, I can show you about the jasmine extract. Based on this background, it is necessary to conduct research on jasmine extract or Jasminum sambax 8 as a natural antimicrobial ingredient. The purpose of the research is to extract the antimicrobial active compound in jasmine flower and see its effect to inhibit the growth of microbe Escherichia coli and the Staphylococcus aureus, and then see whether the jasmine flower extract can be an alternative as a natural preservative in food industry, like a small food industry or then the large food industry. So that it can replace the many synthetic preservatives that are synthetic preservative with circulating in the society. It's a benefit of the food industry. Okay, the benefit or the advantage of the my research is disease research is effective to be useful in providing information about the use of jasmine flower extract as a natural resource to control microbial activity. So that is economic value. I think it's very cheap about the extract jasmine flower and can be used the large and small scale food industry. Okay, I share my method research. The time and place research was conducted at Phytochemical and Microbiology Laboratory, Faculty of Pharmacy, University of North Sumatra in Medan, as well as the Food Processing Laboratory, University of North Sumatra in Medan, Faculty of Technology. This is tool and material, my method, and there's research implementation, but I can show you about the tools and material fully, but the little bit tool material, the equipment used consists of laminar flow autoclave, rotary evaporator, and etc. So research implementation, the study was conducted by using a completely random design with 2 factorial. And then 3 steps, namely the first one, preparation phytochemical test of jasmine flower extract on various type of solvent. So many solvent I was to my research study. I have 4 solvent. Antimicrobial test, the second antimicrobial test, and the third activity test of inhibition of bacteria Escherichia coli and the Staphylococcus aureus on jasmine flower extract with various variation. Okay, this is a research method. I want to show you about the research study. What conducting is completely random design or CRD with 2 factorial. The factor 1, the type of solvent. I have for solvent, water, methanol, ethyl acetate, and hexane. And
Mrs. Natasha, 3 minutes left.
okay, the factor 2 concentration of jasmine extract and QN to 25%, 15%, and 75%, and the 100%. This is a flowchart of my research. This is a jasmine flower. I want my method research is the maturation tape. This is a jasmine flower was dry at temperature 45 degree and for 45 hours blend at 20 mass, and this is a process maturation. And so here is the jasmine flower extract, the phytochemical test about the jasmine flower extract, alkaloid, steroid, hypertension, saponin, tannin, flavonoid, glycoside. And then analysis of activity of jasmine extract to bacteria again, like Staphylococcus and the Staphylococcus aureus. Okay, I can show you the point of making extract about maturation. This is a jasmine flower. You can see about this jasmine flower. Yes, like this is maturation, solvent, and then maturation at 48 hours. And then extract with the four sulfur, water, methanol, ethyl acetate, and hexane. And the concentration for rectification. Okay, I skip this. Okay, result and jasmine. This is how the flower powder was obtained. The analysis of water content is 84%. And the jasmine flower extraction by drying to 7 kilograms of the jasmine flower using at oven the 40 degrees Celsius for 48 hours after drying is weighed to 2.4 kilograms. This is a process of the maturation agent, making extract of the jasmine. This is my ethyl sulfate. This is methanol. This is a hexane. This is a water. Okay, this is a bioactive compound. The plus is contain classes of compound. The minus does not contain any class compound. But I choose with the ethyl acetate from the antimicrobial activity flower extract against E. coli and the Staphylococcus. This is my the diameter inhibition spectrum about the bacteria. This is E. coli, and then this is a Staphylococcus aureus. Yes. Okay. Okay, the conclusion, almost all bioactive compounds such as alkaloid, steroid, saponin, tannin, flavonoid, phenolic, and glycoside are contained in jasmine flower extract with various kinds of solvent with the different level of polarity. Jasmine flower extract with ethyl acetate solvent is the most effective extract in the inhibiting the growth of the taste microbes. The types of jasmine flower extract with various kinds of solvent gave a very significant effect. POS 0.01 and the growth inhibition of Escherichia coli and Staphylococcus aureus. Okay, thank you for your attention and back to my moderator.
Thank you, Mrs. Natasha, for the great presentation. Now, for time for question and answer, I will offer Mr. Babu to. Do you have any questions, Mrs. Babu?
Hello, good evening.
Yes.
Good evening, Ms. Natasha, for your presentation. So here, my question is, what is your expected phytoconstituent from the jasmine extract? So here have mentioned.
I'm sorry, Mr. Can you repeat your question? I can clearly.
So my question is, what is the major phytoconstituents you have expected from the jasmine flower extract? because that particular compound may produce the antimicrobial activity, right? So what is your focused compound from the extract?
Okay, this is a for bioactive compound is solvent jasmine flower extract. This is a water, methanol, ethyl acetate, and hexane. To hide to attract about your methanol, but I choose ethyl acetate, the ability methanol to attract almost all bioactive compound is because methanol the universal solvent that can attract most of the chemical compound like a polar group and non-polar group. So just I want to just mean extract in ethyl acetate. I choose about the activity antimicrobial. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's
Yes,
not
Natasha.
clear.
Yes. So another question is, which phytochemical constituent have the capability to produce antimicrobial activity? So you have mentioned alkaloids, steroids, tannins, phenols, flavonoids, etc., right? So which of the phytochemical constituent have the responsibility or capability to produce antimicrobial activity?
What the mean about content about the alkaloid, the flavonoid, phenol, is it?
Yes, among this list, which compound have the antimicrobial activity?
Okay, this is a content about the ethyl acetate methanol is a flavonoid. This is a flavonoid for the polar group in the medicine study.
Thank you, Natasha.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any question from participant? Mrs. Ira? Enough. Oh, please. Yes.
Yes.
Result and discussion in the Web of Science. Web of Science, it is a high-rank reputation journal. You have to mention the mechanism. Why? Can I say your why could be change, could be inhibit the germ? Why should it be? Kenapa bisa mekanisme begitu? Hasilnya begitu. How do you know that? You have to tell to the scientists the mechanism. It's the important thing. Don't just compare with other research. This is diploma 3. As a master degree, you have to express more detail. Itu ya. Apalagi dokter, ngajarkan itu kurang.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tony. Mrs. Ira, other participant? Enough? Oh, okay, please. Last one.
Yes, everyone. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Denny Kurniawan from University of Catholic Musikaritas. I've seen in your slide there are 3 bacteria: E. coli, Staphylococcus aureus, and Bacillus cereus. I mentioned 2, not 3. Oh, but the slide, which number in? Oh yeah, thank you. And the second one is between jasmine and between E. coli and the Staphylococcus aureus, which one the most effective? The jasmine to E. coli or to aureus? Thank you.
This is my slide. The zone or spectrum about the antimicrobial activity is a most effective, and the one of most and important is E. coli, a representative of the gram-negative bacteria. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So the conclusion is it will effective to used as a phytotherapy of any disease caused by E. coli than to areas.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
because they are naturally, so don't have side effect to the body of human.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I see the of Mr. Sachin. This is a financial level. I get it, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I think the time is up. Thank you for Mrs. Natasha for the great presentation. Give an applause. Now we already have in the end of the session. We would like to thank Mr. Satish Babu and Mrs. Ira for the time as a reviewer this evening. Thank you to all participants present from abroad, Mr. Anthony and Mrs. Josephine. Thank you. And all the participants here, we hope to keep up with this ICoHSST activity tomorrow, all of you. For the presentant and reviewer, we will send the certificate of this presentation to your email. Last one, I'm sorry if I've made mistake. See you next time. Stay safe and healthy. Keep spirit. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.